$20,000 Bitcoin? Is that the next stop? Question everything. Trust nothing. Welcome to Debate Crypto. It's your boys, Keeper and Crusader, here for another episode of, you guessed it, TA Thursday. Now, just as a reminder for everybody that is in here, we're going to have a little change coming soon that you guys are going to be excited for. I know Crusader and I have been working hard in the background to make some changes, and I think you guys are going to be super excited about it. Crusader, how are you doing today, brother?
Dude, I'm excited, bro. Those changes are going to be definitely mind-blowing when we finally implement them, and I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Dude, I am excited, and two of the people that may or may not, I can neither confirm nor deny, might be a part of that are backstage right now. We're going to pull them up. We've got your boy, Evan Aldo. Evan, how are you, brother?
Doing great. Great to be on again. Thanks.
Glad that you are here. And the legend, Frankie Candles. Frankie, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. Always happy to come on.
Glad to have you as always. Guys, if you haven't been paying attention to the markets, we had a meeting yesterday we're going to be talking about. We're going to be diving into what's happening in the overall crypto markets. Obviously, we're going to be just seeing what the charts are telling us. So that's why we bring on the experts for you. Let me jump into the chat real quick. Let me say hello. We've got the man that is always taking the first spot, Green Day Profits. I think he just loves hearing his name on the stream. So Green Day Profits, shout out to you, brother, making sure he is here first, almost daily. Crypto Chef in the house. We got Patriot Caveman, thinking maybe he might have dropped his private address on Twitter. So go look for it if you're interested to see where he. No, I'm just kidding. It was a private message. It was definitely a private message, Caveman. So shout out to you. Good to see you. Who else we got in the house? Darren Does Things, or maybe it's Duran. Well, Darren or Duran, I'm wondering what kind of things do you do? Learning in the house, Aru, and then hold on a second. He told me yesterday. Oh man, he literally told me how to say this. Offney Crypto, I think. I might have screwed it up. Tell me if I said it correctly, brother. I tried. I told you I would remember. Maybe I dropped the ball. All right, let's kick it off. Let's take a look at the charts, see what's going on. Actually, not the charts. Let's take a look at the market cap. The global crypto market cap is at 1.08 trillion with a T dollars. That's down 0.08%. Things are pretty flat. Bitcoin's down a little bit. 26,598. That's down 2%. ETH down about 2.5%. Just under $1,600. It's at 1591. BNB down below that quote unquote liquidation point that never happened. $210. XRP at 51 cents. Crusader's favorite of all the altcoins. Cardano down below 25 cents at 24.8. Toncoin, Dogecoin, and Solana. Solana is the only in the top 10 that is up right now. It's up 1.81%. Whoa, hold on a second. Nope, change that. Scratch that. Down 2.88%. Not really sure what just happened. Somebody got liquidated. Now it's down 2.88%, up 4% on the week. Crusader, before the experts jump on and do it, do you have any TA, or you just want to let them get after it?
No, dude, I don't really have any TA except for what we talked about yesterday. We're still in that consolidating area with that yearly range, trying to stay above the annual pivot. I believe we dropped below it. I don't know if we reclaimed it or not, but yeah, it's same thing right after that Fed meeting yesterday. Did not look good for Bitcoin's price action.
Well, let's talk about the Fed meeting. Let me start off actually with you, Crusader. The FOMC meeting was yesterday. We streamed it live. If any of you didn't see it, you can go check that out. Tell me your thoughts. How did you interpret, let's say, what you heard Jerome Powell as he spoke yesterday?
Same Fugazi, different day, right? Interest rate's going to stay higher for the next year or so. Rate cuts seems to not be happening this year. But, you know, at the end of the day, we all know that the banking system is struggling. There's only a matter of time before the money printer gets turned back on. So when I hear him talk about this, all I think about is just, hey, just got to be patient, right? You just got to wait for the time for the 4-year cycle to kick in, for the Bitcoin halving to happen, and for the 2025 bull run to begin. Just got to be patient. I know everybody wants it now, and everybody wants to, start the bull run now, but patience, my friends.
Yeah, patience is key. And for those of you that are newer to the crypto markets, I do want to remind you, yes, the halvening is coming up in sometime around April of this next year. But let me remind you, it generally takes some time after the halvening before we see the big pump. At least that's how it's been in the past. Could we see something different this time because of all that's happening with the ETFs? Absolutely. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit. But just be patient. I totally agree with that. These markets are going to go up and to the right. It's all a matter of time. So, Frankie, let me kick it off with you, brother. So, like I said, we watched the market. So, Crusader and I, as we were going live yesterday, we actually had the chart, a little 1 minute, 3 minute chart pulled up, just kind of watching. And the market pumped like decently for a minute. And then it took a big dump live on the stream around, surrounding the FOMC meeting. Is this just a classic buy the rumor, sell the news, or how do you feel the markets are going to react after seeing yesterday's meeting?
Yeah, for sure. So, it's always fun watching those low time frames during the meetings, just waiting for that crazy volatility to happen. But let me go ahead. I'll go ahead and share my chart real quick with you guys. Hopefully, you can see that.
Yes, sir.
So, well, basically what I'm looking at now, I was talking as we were live for the FOMC meeting, talking about how, I believe
that's where all our viewers went. They were all watching Frankie Candles because it was kind of slow yesterday. Frankie sucking up all the viewership.
I didn't need to. No, it's funny. I believe the last FOMC meeting that we had was, I believe, July 25th, 26th. And lately, these FOMC meetings have, although you do get a little bit of that volatility, it's been a little lackluster. We're not getting these crazy. Usually, the FOMC meetings look something like this. But we did actually run up into the meeting, like you said. We had that pump to the upside before just rolling around back and bringing it back down to the lower prices. But for me, to be 100% honest with you, I'm a highly technical trader, and I'm one of those guys that's show me the charts, tell me the news, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. And basically what I was looking for, I am currently in a short right now from, let me pull that up. I'm in a short right now from up here. And simply the reason I entered this short was based off technical factors. We were looking at this bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. And that's what caused me to start looking for a short entry. We also were coming up into a key level of resistance, which was our 786 Fibonacci retracement level. We were also, let me hide this trade to clean up the chart a little bit. We were also outside of our value area, which you can see right here. It's essentially just a range. And anytime you get above that level, you're starting to think that, Bitcoin might be a little bit overvalued relative to the recent price action. And you would expect, obviously, knowing that you have confirmation that price will go down, you are generally expecting price to come back into the fair value, which is between these two levels, right? So, I was basically just looking for price, and obviously I was in this short before the meeting. I think the run up before the meeting, what was yesterday, the 20th? Yeah, so I was in that short the day before, and just waiting for that bear div on the 4-hour to play out and get sucked back below this value area high, get stuck underneath this level, and then start its journey to the next expected price, which would be the point of control of that range at about $26,000. And we finally got that drop. So, just based off of that, I am expecting potentially to come down to this POC and potentially come back down to the value area low, as not only do we have the value area below the range down here, but we also have a daily order block down here. We have some single prints down here as well. There is a decent bit of confluence pointing towards the lower end of this range to potentially put in a higher low, compared to this low. If you pull your Fibonacci retracement level from the high to the low, you can see you do have a 786 retracement level down there as well. And now that Market Cipher has a red dot on the daily, it does look possible, nothing's guaranteed. It does look possible that we could wind up having this short play out to the bottom of the range, where I would be looking potentially at that point, depending on what the charts look like. When we get there, I will reassess this situation. But once we get down there, I may look to add to my long position, as I am also long from the bottom of this range. Shout out to the volume profiles. But I am also long from the bottom of this range from about $25,250. I've taken profits up here. My stop loss is at my entry point at this point, so it's a guaranteed winning trade. So long from the bottom, short from the top, just waiting for, potentially this long to play out a little bit more so I can add to that long position down here.
Frankie, do you consider yourself more of a swing trader, day trader? If somebody asked you that, what would you tell them?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time, and I've kind of evolved over time. Because when people ask me what time frame they, it's a very common question that beginner traders will ask me. They'll be like, what's the best time? One of the big questions people ask is, what is the best time frame to trade? And that's just simply not really a thing. Because what I tell people is, you need to, what do you want what does your life look like, right? Do you have a full-time job? If you have a full-time job, you're going to be much better off being, more of a swing trader, right? You're not going to have time to sit at the desk and look at the 5-minute chart.
Right.
So for me, I used to scout the lower time frames a little bit more often, but I would call myself more at this point, as I'm much more busy making content now. Although it is trading focused, when you're making a tutorial video in bar replay mode, you can't always watch the current price action. So I would say probably shifting a little bit more from a scalper to a day trader. Usually holding trade, a day trader slash, short-term swing trader. I'm in a trade for about, typically, over a day, or maybe, 3 or 4 days.
Okay. And Evan, let me get you in on this action before I ask you the next question. What do you consider yourself, for everybody that's watching? Day trader, swing trader, scalp trader? What do you
All of the above, all of the above, and then some. I do it all. I mean, when you have the kind of do this full time, there's a lot. I mean, even a long-term investor as well. I mean, when you kind of do this full time, I see a lot of scalp opportunities, day trade opportunities, and it kind of depends too. Sometimes in the market, I mean, you may enter, sometimes you may enter something that may look like it'll be a day trade, but then it could take longer to play out when the market is more sideways. So I guess that technically becomes a swing trade if it takes longer. You could also kind of add to your scalps, add to your day trades, kind of risk free if you set your new stop loss to your stop loss to your new entry point. Once you do that, and that could become and turn into maybe a scalp trade, or a day trade can turn into a swing trade. So I do all of it. In terms of what I like the most, probably day trading a little bit. I mean, it depends on the swing trading, like how volatile the market is. Sometimes with swing trades, I mean, you could be waiting up to weeks, up to a month. I mean, sometimes we do have very boring times for Bitcoin for things, swing trades to play out. So, it depends, but, I'd say most people who are doing this, full time, are really, really into it.
And you are full time trading, correct?
Full time trading and investing in crypto and stocks. So, yeah. So I think, it's advantageous to look at all of it, because if you're just swing trading, it's going to get boring, especially in some of the sideways times.
It can be a wild ride out there. Just ask Crusader. He's been earning his stripes in figuring out the whole trading game, haven't you, Crusader?
Oh yeah, if that's how you want to say it, then yeah, earning my stripes. I mean, I've been paying out a lot. Definitely been paying out a lot to buy those stripes.
And letting the exchanges just kind of teach you along the way as they collect, from you, as opposed to the other way around. Crypto fam, smash the like if you haven't already. We got about 35 people in here. Glad that everybody is here. Thank you for being here. Let's move the focus over directly to Bitcoin. So Evan, let me ask you, Bitcoin recently. Yeah, expected, unexpected, like walk me through what you're seeing with Bitcoin right now.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of what we saw yesterday, obviously Powell spoke, and since that happened, generally we have come down. It was a very boring FOMC meeting. Usually you see more volatility. Like, I was really expecting something fun. Like, I was thinking we would hit at these areas, then come down quickly. But, this price action was kind of indicative of Powell just being boring and just, not really saying much at the FOMC meeting. When we look at the charts right now, kind of a lot of what Frankie said is I pretty much agree with every single thing Frankie said. That was some really good alpha, Frankie. The other thing somebody was telling me about yesterday that I noticed is, look at this pattern kind of on the daily. We have momentum waves that just keep coming down right here. And your money flow at the same time as well just keeps kind of coming down deeper generally on the daily. And this could almost act like a trigger wave to go down more right here. Also, macro, if you look at, I know it's a dirty chart, or actually, let me just go on the monthly here. If you look at what's happening on Bitcoin, this is my kind of prediction on what's going to happen a little bit more on the macro. We come down to probably at least the low 20s in the coming months, trigger wave to the downside on the monthly, just a very, very bearish sign. And when I look at, kind of more potentials on kind of the shorter term, what I see here on my 12-hour, some split gapped RSIs coming down on market cipher B. Money flow looks like it wants to kind of come back down, start to go back into the red, maybe just, more of a slow area where we come up a little bit and then you come back down. And then if you look at some of the lower time frames, I mean, it was a really good point. What Frankie was saying about the 4-hour, the bear div, that was a good indication that we could have some type of reversal here. This area, obviously, price kind of rejected from this area around 27.4 before. So there's kind of that rejection down. And if you look at the lower time frames right now, money flow generally, look at this curvature, money flow generally coming out on the hourly. So I would say that you got a good shot of, potentially coming down lower. This point that we want to keep for the bullish case right here, 26.3 about, really 26.268 is a huge point. This is the volume area low of this large range. And then if we do break below that, I think if you break below that, you're most likely going to just keep coming down. And I mean, we've tested this big support area so many times at 25.3 right here. I think kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strikes, maybe 6 strikes is where you're out. And then the big number, I know a lot of smart people like Garrett Solway have talked about, 23K, I think, is where you could potentially be next. My estimate is you would probably mess around with 23K sometime in October, and then potentially going down to the lower areas. This is where your 300 weekly moving average would be at 21.6. So over the next few months, if history repeats similar to the last thing I'll show you right now, I mean, if history repeats similar to over here back in 2019, you generally would stay bearish, for 1, 2, 3, 4 red Heiken ashy candles. We're 2 right now. So 2 more months would bring us out to November. That's exactly a year after the low last November. Why is that relevant? Because look at this low in December of 2018. Not counting the pandemic, the next low was exactly a year after. So going with that 4-year cycle, okay. November is my best guess here on where we could bottom out.
Using some time frames. Yeah, I know Bill Noble, who has been coming on the show off and on for a while, has been talking about some sort of a lunar eclipse or some sort of, something to do with some moon cycles that I always like to ask him about because it's just something interesting, something different. And he's calling for October to be an extremely bearish month. And the interesting thing is I'm hearing from the other traders that have nothing to do with obviously any of the lunar stuff coming up with the same type of thesis. So I think it'll be interesting to see how October plays out. We will keep all of you posted. I know most of you probably are paying close enough attention that you're going to find out anyway. But yeah, stand by. We'll keep you posted with what's going on. So Frankie, let's talk about ETH. ETH is always second to Bitcoin. Show me the ETH charts. What levels are you looking for? If you were or are you in a trade looking to enter, exit, you bullish, you bearish? Walk me through what's going on with ETH.
For sure. Let me go ahead and share that chart one more time. And yes, so for Ethereum, I'm looking at something pretty similar to Bitcoin. Now, just looking simply at another value area. Now, this is, it's funny because I talk about the value areas like constantly. And the reason I do that is because it's simply one of the most powerful tools I found in my trading career. And like, if I had found this before or earlier in my career, I would have saved myself so much time, so much energy learning, and more
money.
Moreover, yeah, I would have saved myself a ton of money that I gave to the market in the beginning of my trading career, which is, very common. Typically, if you start trading, you're going to have to lose money for some amount of time before you become profitable. And, most people give up before they're able to stick through that. So, that's why I talk about it so much, because if I can get even one person who's watching right now to like check out the volume profiles and learn about them, hopefully I can save them that trouble that I went through. So basically what we're looking at here, and I will go back in time a little bit, we deviated below this value area low, which we were expecting to potentially get sucked back into this range. Like I said, you were looking at Ethereum at this point as oversold or undervalued, right? So you're simply just looking to buy it or long it and ride it back into the area of value, right? Inside this value area is basically like a fair price for Bitcoin. People are agreeing that between 1660 and 1550, this is a fair price for Bitcoin, at least relative to the recent price action. We came up, tapped that value area high. At that point, my basic sentiment here was to get a move to the POC. We came up for a second test of that value area high. As soon as you lose that POC and you can't get back above it, you bearishly retest it here and you start your move down. Now, obviously, we did have these two golden pocket retracement levels here that we are getting a bounce off of this one right now, with the 786 down here towards 1560. But just based off the laws of the volume profile, and not only that, but if you come up to the higher time frames, we're also getting a red dot on the daily for Ethereum as well, on top of a daily blood diamond, which is on your regular and Heiken-Ashi candles. So that would be a little bit concerning for the price of ETH. And I do think that, just based off the volume profile, how they work, the daily red dot, the daily blood diamond, I am simply going to just kind of trust in the volume profile and expect that because we lost this POC and couldn't get back above the value area high, we are simply just on our journey to go revisit the value area low, very similar to Bitcoin. If we come back down here, we start getting bullish signals, that's where I would start looking for a long back up to the high of the range. If we lose it, can't get back above the value area low, that's where I am looking for a move down. I don't want to take too much time. I know we're limited on time here, but one thing, there's a very, very key level on Ethereum that I'm looking at right now. And it come up to the daily here. And it's this golden pocket right here. And this is interesting for more reason than one. It's between 1481 and 1447. Now, not only is this, I'm going to take off the TA here, but, not only is this golden pocket, a macro golden pocket retracement from the absolute low down here at about, just almost at $1,000, $1,100 almost, to the absolute high here. Your macro golden pocket pops up right here, which would be a big place to come back down and test. But on top of that, if I actually pull up the liquidation heat map and we take a look at Ethereum now.
Well, I've not seen this. Talk to me about what this is.
So what this is this lets you know where this basically shows you where it's not exact levels, but it basically shows you a heat map where like these hot yellow areas are where there's a big concentration of liquidation levels, where leverage traders will get stopped out or liquidated. And price is attracted to this, right? Because the market makers have to move price up to these levels to fill their orders and push price in the direction they want it to go. So one thing I want to show here is I'm going to go to the 3-month chart. And you can see right down here, pretty funny, right? We have this big hot yellow line letting us know that there's a lot of liquidation sitting down here at a price of about, $14.64. And it just so happens to line up right here, 1481, 1447, smack dab in the middle of that golden pocket. So if we come down here, this is a huge level that I'm looking at for a reaction off of this macro golden pocket. Because if you come to the higher time frames, we're actually looking to print a green dot on the 6-day and the weekly. So if we do come down to that golden pocket and we get some kind of reaction, in my opinion, it is likely if we come down here, we will get some kind of a reaction to the upside. So I will be looking for longs at that level for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting to see this line up. I have not seen that heat map. That's really interesting because you're right. The market makers are always looking to push towards those. It allows that the liquidity that they need in and out. So they're playing games. This is a fixed deck, if you ask me. It's a stacked or not a fixed. It's a stacked deck that is definitely stacked against us, which is why when we talk about trading, and Frankie was talking about how you got to kind of pay your dues. I was joking around with Crusader about it. You really do have to learn how to play these markets because there are bigger things at hand in the background. And information like that's good. Frankie, what was that website?
It's called High Block Capital. HY Block Capital, spelled normal.
High Block Capital. So you heard it here first. Frankie Candles shooting out some alpha for you. Smash that like if you're going to be using High Block Capital. If you're not, still smash the like anyway because it helps the channel. All right, so Crusader, let me get you in on this action. Just give me your overall sentiment, dude. There's a lot of bearishness in the market. You've heard people talk about, and I've heard you talk about, well, what if the ETF comes in? Is that going to change things? Talk to me about just your overall sentiment with how things have been recently.
Yeah, man. The overall sentiment, I think, the market is stuck right now. We are at the bitter end, what I believe to be the bitter end of the bear market. And it's just as nasty, right, as the beginning. The beginning is exciting because there's volatility and you're seeing these massive drops and you're like, whoa, man. And then your dollar cost average and you're stacking up, right? And you're doing your whole thing. But now that we're at this later part of the bear market and we're really riding out to the, bear grinding of the bones of the end, it is boring, right? It is boring. And it's represented in not just in the viewership, right? But you can see the candles. They're barely even moving. It's just crawling sideways. Great bullish news comes out. Nothing happens to the price. The price doesn't even blink, right? Yesterday, the Federal Reserve thing about not raising interest rates, it was pretty good. It wasn't terrible, right? Price dropped, but it also didn't even drop that drastic. It dropped a few $100s, and that was it. Like it's not going anywhere, not up, not down. It's just dead in its tracks. Yeah. And that's all part of the ending of the bear market. It's just, it grinds you to a halt. It grinds you to where you just want to leave. You just don't want to be a part of it. You're just like, there's nothing here. Let me know when it's interesting. I'll come back in a few months, maybe next year. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I think, like everyone else is saying on here, that we probably do have more downside. How low can we go is always the question in everybody's mind. I don't know. You guys, Frankie and Aldo pointed out some great levels, right? The quarter two piv, the March piv, 21, 23, 24, all possible levels if we break lower. But at the end of the day, maybe we don't break lower, right? You never know when this spot ETF can get approved and, can skyrocket us to the upside. That's my belief. But the bear market can be a lot longer, can feel a lot longer than what it actually is. And it's just something people have to write out.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to pay close attention to, obviously, the markets as per the usual. But let me ask this. So altcoins, this is something that as Bitcoin and ETH bleed, the altcoins just absolutely damn near die, it feels like, right? But there's always some alts that there's always an opportunity. Let's put it that way. There's opportunities with some of these alts having partnerships, and they'll get these pumps, and you either miss or catch one. The bear market still has the opportunity to make money. And I want to kick it over to you, Evan. One of the I guess I should say one of the alts that has been really heavily advertised, or at least in my estimation, I know that they've been spending money even through the bear market to continue to keep them on the proverbial map. Has been Quant. No, I'm gonna get to XRP here in just a second. They've definitely been spending money. They've been spending your money. Quant. God, see, dude, you've got me literally. Just you've manipulated my brain, Crusader. So Quant. Let me ask you about Quant, Evan. What do you expect to see from Quant in the short term as we look at the chart recently? We picked a couple alts out. XRP is the next one. So XRP fam, if you're out there, stick around. Frankie's going to give you some alpha on that. But let's start with Quant. What do you got with Quant, Evan?
Yeah, let's take a look at my chart right here. So, don't get too scared about this. I don't know if we're coming this low down to $60. Right here we had a major point on Quant around $97, $98, essentially $100, which is a big psychological level. The fact that we're now coming down to 90 kind of worries me a little bit. I mean, you do have this wick right here. You have these wicks right here, which make this kind of a big point to potentially jump off of this area. However, when I look at the weekly, I don't like how money flow is still deep in the weekly. There's no real bullish div about to form. I don't really like the 2 week too much yet. Maybe if we get another green dot, see this VWAP kind of comes up more, we could see more hope here. But as of right now, man, I'm just not seeing. I mean, there's a little bit of hope on the 2 day here. Maybe we come back, retest 96 or something, this area 97. But, you got a yellow X. This is, manipulation X potentially. Somebody's dumping a lot of it right now here. And I wouldn't be going along on it at the moment. And I do think that when you look at, where a lot of these alts could potentially go, going down to, $50 or $60, that's only around another 40% down, which I do think, Bitcoin going down to the low 20s, I do think a lot of these alts could potentially bleed down another 30, 40% in the coming months. As of the very short term, if we look at the 30-minute right here, even that's not too promising. I mean, maybe some of these real low time frames, if you have some money flow coming up, you could see a little bit of relief. Maybe we could form some kind of reverse head and shoulders and have a nice jump up a little bit more. Let's take a look. We're at $91. But yeah, as of right now, and when I look at Bitcoin dominance too, just real quick, I mean, this is bullish. Weekly money flow wants to come up higher. I think Bitcoin is going to outperform a lot of these going forward. But as you said, there's certain islands that do jump up, but I don't think QNT is going to be one of them right now.
All right. Well, Quant's been one that we've heard a lot of different traders talk about. A lot of people maybe that aren't even in the trading game per se, but it's just always been a hot topic, right? It did really well last run, and I've got an interesting question towards the end of the show regarding maybe some things that you wouldn't expect, so stick around for that. All right, smash the like if you haven't already. Frankie, you already know the XRP fam wants to hear from you, bro. They want to know when $5. Listen, 50,000. I think most people are going to give up on that one. All right. I know so. Zach Rector hasn't yet, but other than the few, outliers.
Has he really not? Has he still talked about that?
I have not heard him talk about that. I have not heard him talk about the buyback, but ultimately it was fun while it lasted. I told all my TikTok people that I was going to give them all 20 grand. I was going to give away 2 billion of my 4.8. I mean, I'm a freaking saint at that point and still a billionaire. So, it's fun to think about for a minute. Talk to me about what XRP is looking like right now, Frankie.
Yeah, for sure. So let me go ahead and pull up that chart. And I will say, I want to start this off with, I am an XRP bull for sure. I have a huge bag of XRP. It's one of my bigger bags. I am an XRP bull, hands down, no questions asked. So, if I mention anything about XRP not going to $10,000, don't come at me, everybody. But it is really funny. It's like, it's like I try to, like, I'll try to make the case for $10,000. And, based off what I look at, it's pretty wild.
I can't get there.
Yeah, I just
can't get there.
It's not, trust me, like you said, I said the same thing, man. I was like, listen, if XRP goes to $10,000, I'll give everybody, like, same thing. I give everybody 10 grand, like, and I'll just still be a multi-billionaire. We'll do it together, Keeper.
Yeah, for sure.
But taking a look at the chart here on XRP, again, back to the volume profiles, we have come back down, right? Below this value area high, couldn't get back above it. We were looking for the move to the POC, got it. And then we got stuck under that POC, where this is really where you would expect to come down to that value area low, which is coming in at 43 cents. But we hit this golden pocket retracement. And on this golden pocket retracement, we were looking for a bounce because as we approached this golden pocket, we actually wound up putting in a daily bullish divergence, right? And this was popping up on a lot of stuff. It's kind of why a lot of things popped. But you have your higher lows here on your momentum waves. And if you're not using Market Cipher and you don't have money to spend on a premium indicator, you could do this on the RSI and many other oscillators that you can look at on TradingView. But you have your lower lows on price, your higher lows on your momentum waves into that golden pocket. We were looking for a bounce. And, I've simply been telling people I'm not getting excited over XRP simply until we break out of this value area high, sitting at about 54 cents, like pretty close to 55 cents. And until then, I am expecting to either bounce around, maybe come up, test this level again, but just kind of respect this range, right? Like, we found a fair price for XRP for the time being. And until we break that high, I'm really not looking for anything too crazy. The nice thing here, or kind of the thing that would give you some kind of hope, is that not only did you put your bullish divergence in here, you are starting to get your money flow to kind of creep up here on the daily, which could indicate that the trend may continue to the upside, which would open the door to break out. However, you could see the VWAP here is coming back down. You're likely going to print a red dot here very soon, and that could easily drag the money flow back down. So simply put, I'm kind of neutral on XRP. But simply, like, I have alarms, set, I'll watch the charts every single day. So as soon as we break this level, that's kind of where I would be looking for higher prices. And just looking to kind of bing bong around inside of this range until something happens.
Yeah, for sure. And Frankie, on XRP, is there, the lawsuit came out, we got the little bounce, it came back down, everybody disappointed, thinking it was going to $1, $3, $5, whatever. Do you expect XRP at this point to do anything without Bitcoin's permission?
I don't. Well, see, that's the thing, right? I wouldn't really expect it, to be honest, unless you get some kind of insane news that is totally unpredictable. But even at that point, I'm not gonna lie here. Like, I talked about this on my live stream last night, and right before we got this Lambo candle, right, which ripped us out of the value, ripped us right out of that value area into a new value area and rejected the POC of that value area. But that's for another day. It's funny too, because the volume profiles are a free tool on TradingView. So it's like people are like, this guy's getting paid. And it's like, no, this is free. But it really is. I'm like passionate about this tool because it's just so accurate. But at least in my experience, right? But, even before we got that Lambo candle, what did we have happen? Like I said, I'm a very technical trader. So I'm not really, I do think if we're going to get that crazy news, chances are if I'm trading XRP, I'm probably going to be in a trade before it happens anyway, because what happened before we took off here? Well, you're looking at this volume profile and you put lower lows into your value area low locally, which is basically where I would be looking for longs, right? Anytime we come to that value area low, I'm looking for my bullish confirmations. And you on the daily, once again, you have lower lows on your price, higher lows on your momentum waves, that's a very strong bullish sign that you're likely to get some kind of a reversal to come in. It's very unlikely that a daily bullish divergence gives you absolutely nothing. They don't all do this, but it's very unlikely that they give you nothing. So lower lows on your price, higher lows on your momentum waves. Not only that, you also had your money flow starting to come up here. That's a bullish sign. I would be looking probably just to scalp this, potentially, just up to the value area high. But then again, it just wound up ripping and you're in from the bottom of the range. So I don't see a reason for XRP to pump without Bitcoin's permission unless you get some kind of crazy news. And if you get that crazy news, likely it's going to be signaled on the charts before it happens, like it always is.
Yeah, the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, everything seems to need Bitcoin's permission. And in the past, we have seen that Bitcoin needs the stock market's permission to continue to move. Now, that's not always the case. We've seen some contrarian moves, but as a general rule, we're still tied to those traditional markets. Now, will that change? I think it will at some point as we move farther and farther into this Bitcoin blockchain revolution. I think we'll start to pull away from that. But I think that as that happens too, I want to throw out there, we're going to get the Lambo candles, as Frankie says, right? I think those are going to get fewer and farther in between, because we're going to get more and more towards traditional as it relates to the market cap getting larger and larger and larger in crypto. It's just, that's the law, right? It can only get so big before moving 100% now is going to be 1.08 trillion. In a couple of years, when we're at 10 trillion, you need 10 trillion more dollars to get up 100%. It's just simple math. It's more and more and more that needs to happen to be able to get the same amount of percentage returns. So keep an eye on, what's happening in the overall macro markets on all sides of things. All right. So again, smash that like if you haven't. If you're not following Evan, if you're not following Frankie, you guys are wrong. So fix that. Their info is down in the chat, and make sure that you have hit the bell notification on our channel here at Debate Crypto, and then also for Evan and Frankie for doing the hard work here on the channel. All right, Crusader, we've heard some contrarian reports recently from some different traders, and I've heard it suggested that the ETF approval could actually result in a dump on the charts. Do you agree or disagree with this? Tell me why.
No, I would definitely have to disagree with that. I don't see any mechanism on why they would dump the price with the spot ETF, right? It's very different from the futures. I understand that maybe that comes from the 2017 era when they started the first CME futures, and the day it went live, Bitcoin just peaked and just dumped right there, right? The fact that they're going for a spot ETF would have to force them to actually buy and hold the physical Bitcoin, eating up a ton of the Bitcoin supply, right? And then that already happening with the next halving, we're getting scarcer and scarcer. About 19 million are already in full circulation. Of that 19 million, I believe 4 to 5 million have been declared completely lost over the years.
Is it that high?
Yeah. The
I knew there's a million in the Genesis wallet.
Yeah, there's a million in the Genesis wallet, and then the other amounts from like people losing hardware drives and all the hard drives and stuff over the years definitely adds up to millions of Bitcoin. I believe about a handful of them. So with that being said, I believe the scarcity is going to be even higher for Bitcoin. I don't see institutions crashing the Bitcoin price for what? What are they going to do? To cash out for dollars? I mean, look where dollars are going. Dollars are going to zero faster than Bitcoin can go to zero, right? So I don't understand what they're going to be cashing out to if they're going to be if their mastermind plan is to crash Bitcoin. I'm not saying that they won't short it when they have to at some point, right?
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to ride that wave up. I believe that this next Bitcoin bull cycle is going to be driven off the ETF. Last cycle was ran off of companies like MicroStrategy, Tesla, and countries like El Salvador adopting Bitcoin. That was the big news. That was driving the mass adoption, right? The frenzy of 300K Bitcoin and all these other price points that people are pointing out to. I think the spot ETF and the institutional adoption out in the public, eating up the Bitcoin supply, is what's going to drive the bull run. I don't see anything else pumping Bitcoin to the bull run if we don't get a spot ETF.
Shout out to Crypto Zombie, good friend of the channel. He had said actually on one of the other shows, he had mentioned like, hey, also just to make it really simple, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all these big players, they've got big egos as well. And so for us to think that they would bring out this revolutionary new thing, a spot ETF, and on the introduction of all of this possible liquidity that could be pumping into the markets, it just dumps. And on its face, all of the retail people that don't really know any better would look at it and say, wait a minute, should I be putting my money into that? And I think he makes a really good point. So I've heard the other side of it where people are saying, well, they could use that to their advantage. They could come out, play some wild games with your money, dump the price, get everybody scared, buy it all up low, and then boom, blast off from there. But I'm kind of more in the camp of what Zombie and what you were saying, Crusader. I think that it is just going to be more of a steady rise over time. We might see a big result from it initially, I think kind of very likely we probably will see a big
it's billions of dollars instantly injected into Bitcoin.
Well, that and the fact that, once it actually gets approved because I've talked to some people at the gym that work for traditional finance companies, and they're not allowed to introduce Bitcoin. At the moment that all these companies are allowed to introduce Bitcoin to their people, at least the people that I've talked to, they said, hey, listen, I would introduce it as a risky play, but that has a lot of upside. But they're not even allowed to do it right now. So I think that when those start to come in, when people start to put even small percentages, I think I heard that's something around 1 to 2%. If people were to put 1 to 2% of like 401k money in there, you're talking trillions, multiple trillions of dollars that could trickle in. Now that won't happen overnight, but it will be there. So yeah, I'm in the camp with you. I think it's going to be bullish for sure overall.
And the gold ETF, when they introduced the gold ETF, massive price appreciation for gold.
Yeah, it went nuts. And we talk about Bitcoin as digital gold. So, all right, gents, let's kind of go around the horn here. I've got a couple fun questions to kind of round out the show. I'll start with you, Evan. So, favorite altcoin pick for the next bull run? I know I'm putting you guys on the spot on these. Yeah. These are just for fun. We're not holding you to it. Don't come crucify us when we get one wrong here. We're not giving financial advice.
Sure.
But Evan, if you had to pick one, don't give me Ethereum. Give me an altcoin pick for the next bull run.
Yeah, so I'll show you my chart. There's one that, I've always kept my eye on. This is one I've kind of held on to through a lot of this bear market, mainly because I've been staking it for a pretty high yield. Atom, I think, has a good shot of doing pretty well. Now, Atom is now currently down, let's see, from its all-time high, down about 82%. Now, right now, probably what's going to happen is we're just going to do the same thing we've done the weekly the past two times here, come to green with the Heikin-Ashi candles, and then come back down. However, I think this $5 area could be pretty big, and then that's about a 30% drop down, maybe some wicks lower, 40%, which is, I think, where potentially the average altcoin will go in the coming months into early next year. But after that, I think Atom has a good shot of going down to these points and potentially hitting, get ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
Somewhere close to $100. You might be able to get a 20x, maybe.
You heard it here. 20x maybe from Cosmos. The Cosmos is a great project. So
yeah, I think you got a good shot.
I like that pick. I like that pick. Frankie, what about you, brother? Oh, go ahead.
Last thing, just to show you real quick. Yeah. This bull div that may come up on the 2-week, this could be what we're looking for in a place to potentially get in, especially if you drop down before you see this with this VWAP coming up. Look for that money flow in that bullish div on the 2-week. You may be a little low on that. You might have to wait for the next one, but it'll happen sometime probably by the end of the year. So,
well, I mean, shoot, even if you're getting in at $7 versus $5.50, obviously it's still a fantastic return if it's able to do, what you're suggesting. So, all right. So Cosmos is your pick. Frankie, what's yours, brother?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say shout out to Evan. Dude, I was going to pick Cosmos, so I 100%...
making him pivot.
I 100% agree with what Evan just said. I think interoperability is going to be a huge narrative in the next bull run. We have all these different blockchains. They're going to need a way to communicate. I think Atom is I think Cosmos is a strong project. And yeah, so I was going to pick Atom, but I will switch it up. And before I actually pull that up, I do actually, real quick, just want to show that you're talking about the spot gold ETF. I believe this is the chart that people have been looking at. You have all this action down here, right? And then the ETF gets approved. And that's kind of, it's pretty wild. This chart is pretty nutty. If we see something things are going to get super, super exciting. But let me go ahead and pull up the chart here. So I'm going to go with an unpopular opinion. Now, this is not by any means like my top altcoin pick, not at all. But Adam, I would have been a little bit more on that end of things. But I'm going to go ahead and say Solana. I think a lot of people think Solana is dead. I think a lot of people hate Solana as a project, but they are still building in this bear market, and they're still doing a lot, right? Like they're not a dead project by any means whatsoever. Yeah. I put a video out on my channel recently, just looking into Solana, like kind of investigating, is Solana dead? And through our research, we found out they're not. Like they're building out a lot of cool stuff. They have the Solana phone, which I mean, to be 100% honest, I don't know who's going to buy that really. I think it's a weird market to try to enter. But they're trying things, right? They're building, and I do think this will make somewhat of a comeback. And I infamously was DCAing right before it basically went to zero. But then I actually bought some 3x leverage tokens at the bottom and made my money back, plus a little profit. But I'm basically at break even. I'm up a tiny bit on this. But I do think we will see Solana do something in the next bull run. And the fact that, people were picking this up down at $8, I think those people, if they are still holding throughout that next bull market, I think Solana will do something. And I think that, if you just look at this if you just pull your macro fib, let's go to the weekly time frame so I could just get these levels a little bit easier. If you just pull your macro golden pocket retracement from the high all the way to the low, I mean, this is a wild pull, but there's a lot of room to come up here. Like even if this thing does not break all-time highs, let me just go ahead and get the price.
Yeah, and chat, while he's pulling that up, toss your favorite altcoin pick into the chat. I'd like to see. I saw a couple people toss theirs. Let me see what yours is in the chat.
So yeah, even if this thing doesn't break all-time highs, let's say it goes back to 150, say, 628%, not a top performer of the bull market by any means, but yeah.
We're so spoiled though, Frankie. Even you saying that 620, I mean, not a top performer, but we've been so spoiled in crypto, man, for sure. Yeah, and absolutely. Solana might not be dead. They may turn themselves off occasionally here and there. That's always the joke, right? Yeah. But they're definitely not dead. I do agree with you on that, Frankie. Yeah. All right. So I'll go ahead and give mine. My pick is going to be, drum roll, please. Let's see if Crusader can guess what my pick is. What's my pick, Crusader?
For the best altcoin?
Yeah.
That can't be Ethereum?
That can't be Ethereum, yeah.
I think you're going to say VeChain.
There it is.
You like all the commie coins.
I like all the commie coin. All right, so commie coin it is. Yeah, I am picking VeChain, but I'm picking it for those of you that watch the stream regularly. You would know I keep talking about this utilitarian bull run. I like what VeChain does, supply chain management tracking. It makes sense. It's huge freaking business. They're partnered up with Walmart. They're partnered up with, as Crusader says, the commies over in China. And yeah, I think VeChain's going to do really, really well. Now, I know you shouldn't do this, but an all-time, I'm not going to pull up the chart right now, but the all-time high on VeChain's like 26 or 27 cents. I think we're at one point.
Was that it? I thought it was higher than that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately it wasn't. I wish it was. But we're at 1.6 cents ish, something like that. So nice little 20 to 25x, back to all-time highs. I'd love to see it. And I actually think it will go a decent little bit higher than that. I think we might be able to see somewhere around 50 cents. I've heard people talking about $1 VeChain. I mean, I'd love to see that. But again, bull markets do crazy things. You never know. We could turn around. Walmart could throw them out. And all of a sudden, VeChain's on its head. You have no idea. But I think that they're going to be a good pick. Crusader, what's your pick? XRP?
Definitely not XRP. I need to pick one? What are the rules? What were the rules for this?
Just nothing but ETH. Just kind of your favorite altcoin pick to do really well for returns in the next
okay. Run. I want to go with Cardano for sure. I think Cardano can easily surpass $3. We're down at 24 cents right now. I mean, it's literally like in the top 10. Has tested the time of all bear markets. Is being built on. It got the $3 with no smart contracts, no NFTs, no DeFi, no nothing. This next cycle, I think, will be huge for Cardano. That's my easiest, safest pick outside of Ethereum.
All right, let's go the other direction now, gentlemen. We're going to go totally the other direction. Now, what about an altcoin that everybody thinks is going to do well that isn't going to do shit? right? Talk to me talk to me about, I knew that was coming. Talk to me about your sad performer of the upcoming bull market. Who is going to not exceed expectations that might really disappoint some people? I know we're probably going to chap some asses in the chat right now, but talk to me about something. Evan, we'll start with you. Give me a non-performer.
Oh man, that's a tough one, but what comes to mind there that a lot of people I went to college and high school with always ask me about is Dogecoin. And
Oh, that is a call right there, because I think that Twitter is going to push out Dogecoin as part of this environment. Okay, go ahead, continue.
You might be right. I don't know, man. I just I look at this chart, and we've tested this area so many times around 6 cents, and I mean, there ain't much to latch on to, man. Like, I'm not going to draw your Armageddon, bring you down to a cent area, but you could come back down to like 2 cents or something, like these areas, if you break down from there, and there is some FUD with X, or formerly Twitter, where, now they're going to charge everybody to go on Twitter. And Elon said multiple times it could fail. If Twitter fails, what's going to happen to Dogecoin? I mean, at that point, I don't think Elon.
If Twitter as a whole, if X fails, like the platform,
it could, man. And we're coming with the new election, all the censorship, all the big money against Elon. Elon said it. He said it. He's tweeted about it.
But isn't he in full control of and worth $250 billion? Can't he just tell us?
Does that mean they're going to get Doge payments there? Does that mean it has to succeed? We'll see.
No, I'm just talking about X being in general. Just
they're not profitable. That's the problem.
They're not profitable.
He said they're not profitable.
No, and
most social media aren't profitable.
And more, they're losing more and more. I mean, it's a lot of censorship. It's a lot of the commies, but we got to be objective about it. What's happening? I mean, they coming up with the new election. You think they're going to let them slide by easy with all this freedom of speech?
That's a good point.
I don't think so.
No, we feel that heavy on the channel here. Yeah. We feel it at Danger Close Alpha. By the way, if you haven't subbed to Danger Close Alpha, just as an aside, make sure to check us out here on YouTube. We just started a new channel. If you like the political side of things, check us out. Okay.
I also think they're getting a new CEO. Aren't they getting he appointed like some female as the new CEO?
Yes, he did. I don't know who it was.
The other thing too is Elon Musk's track record with crypto is terrible. He basically bought Bitcoin. He sold 90% of it. They took Bitcoin payments for Tesla. Then 2 weeks later, he's like, "Oh, just kidding." Like, his track record. I like Elon, but his track record with crypto is probably as bad as you could imagine. I mean,
sometimes with these genius people, they do a lot of things that make not a whole lot of sense. It makes sense in their own mind, and then you're like, huh? But I guess we'll find out. That's an interesting pick. Okay, so Frankie, what's your sad performer of the upcoming bull market?
I'm gonna say it, and the reason I'm gonna say this is because we just talked about a $10,000 XRP. Okay. And if you start to ask people like, all right, say it can't go to $10,000, give me a more realistic number. They're like, well, it could. I mean, it'll at least go to $100. Well, give me more realistic than that.
Bro, get me to $5 and I'm damn near out. Like,
So I do think because of a lot of the retail that's going to come into crypto during the next bull run, right? They're going to come in the middle of the bull run at the top, and a lot of these people are going to be hoping for that $100 XRP because they're going to hear 10K and they're going to be like, if they think it could go to 10K, you have to imagine, right? A retail trade, not a retail trader, but like a retail investor, right? Like someone who, your barber, Bitcoin's in the news now. They decide, let me check it out. Let me download Coinbase. The typical story, how most people get into crypto, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's how I got into crypto.
Yeah.
But, they're going to come in and they're going to start seeing this stuff, $10,000 XRP. And then they're going to think to themselves, well, like, hey, they start doing the math. They're like, if these people must know more than I do because they've been around for longer than I am. I just got here. They're calling for a $10,000 XRP. If this thing goes to $20, I'm going to be I'm going to be rich. And I'm not saying that XRP can't perform really, really well, right? Like people who know what they're doing, people here in the bear market, like if you've been accumulating XRP, I think it's eventually going to do very, very well for us. Like I said,
you're saying the expectations are going to be nowhere near met for what people, I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely. And you know what? Let me go ahead. I'll pull up the chart one more time here. And I'm actually not going to show the XRP chart. I'm actually going to show the Cardano chart because this is something that I experienced in the last bull run, right? And it's everybody. And for some reason, I can't for the life of, I could, when it was happening, I couldn't for the life of me understand why people were saying this, but people were saying Cardano underperformed. And when I was looking at Cardano,
it went from 2 cents to $3.
Exactly.
Keeper, this is my thing. People say, "Oh my God, Cardano, the sleeper of the bull market, the sleeper of the bull market." I was buying Cardano here at around. I think I bought Cardano for the first time at 12 cents, and now looking at this chart, I was not buying really anywhere near the bottom,
Or
right?
$2
Like
and something.
yeah, like I mean, at the bottom we were at a penny, and I was buying at 12 cents. And even from 12 cents to the top of that bull market was 1900%. The problem is you have these new retail investors coming in, and again, I am throwing zero shade towards these people. They there's no way to know better. And like I said, I was one of these people at some point, but the retail comes in and they're buying these candles. Oh my God, it's going to the moon. 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 Then they see this red. They sell it because they think it's going down. And then it goes back up. They buy more. And then they're like, oh my God, it's going to zero. And then they just wind up holding it until it rides all the way down. So I do think that XRP is going to be the Cardano, meaning that it's not going to perform well, but people are going to perceive it as not performing well just based off their expectation.
Dude, that's a great call. It's funny that that's the one that you came up with, because that was literally, as you were going to do with Evan earlier, pick the same one. I was going to pick it for the same reason, not because I don't think it's going to do well. I just think people are have their head in the clouds, I think, about what it can actually do. Like, I do think that at some point we'll see a $3-5 XRP. Yeah, I think that's realistic. I've got an order set. I have to look at what it is. It's right under $5 for half of my. I've got a large bag of XRP too, like a pretty big bag. And I've got half of it set to sell, and then I'm going to hold that moon bag. And if it ends up doing some wild ass numbers, cool, I'm down, right?
Yep.
But I think that it's going to do the same thing. So let me pivot a little bit. This, I don't know in our chat if this is going to chap anybody's ass, but this would probably absolutely make people go insane. I'm saying Hex. The Hexicans have been deceived.
They've been getting slaughtered, dude.
They've been deceived for a long time, and I think the deception is up. I think that the jig is up. I think that as smart of a man as Richard Hart is, I also think he's that good of a crafty type of salesman, I think, ultimately. And I think that people are coming to the realization that, wait a minute, well, I think the setup, and I don't know this for sure, but I think the setup with Hex was something like you got docked like 50% or something if you locked it up for a certain amount of time and pulled before the lockup period. They took like half of your Hex. That doesn't make sense. That does not line up with an investment thesis, right? It just doesn't, right? And so I think the Hexicans are in the same boat, Frankie, as XRP, where they're like so in this zone, in this little lane where nothing can get them out of it, that their expectations, whatever they're going to be, I think it's going to be absolutely not at all that, if at all, because I think he has a big lawsuit going on right now where it could get even uglier for him as well. And I don't know how hard or how long he'll fight that. But I'm picking Hex. Crusader, what's your pick?
Dude, I'm going to be picking Filecoin. I think
Filecoin
is not going anywhere next bull run. I think it's one of those that kind of became like an EOS, right? It has had all this promise, all this stuff in the last cycle. And then what's Filecoin doing now? Still trying to sell your extra computing space, right? It was like,
you just think it's going to be just kind of a no, just a no, just kind of something that's going to
just fade out. People really hyped up in the last cycle and might still be holding on to for this next one because it never sold. But I don't think it's really going anywhere.
Interesting. Well, hey, you guys heard it all here first. Let's finish the stream with a really simple one, and this is the one that nobody ever wants to answer. I'll answer it if nobody else wants to answer it. We'll start off with you, Evan. We want to know your next bull run Bitcoin high price prediction.
I'll give you a range. I mean,
don't make it too big. Don't give yourself like $100,000 of range here. Okay,
somewhere between 100 and maybe 200
and 2 million.
I would go. I don't. It's hard to say, man. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say 90K.
Dude, that's almost spot on. I like to be conservative.
90?
That's what I was literally gonna say.
With a
90K.
spot ETF, we got to 69 without jack squat.
Dude, Evan, I'm with you. I was going to say 90K exactly. And I'll tell you why. I think you were too, Frankie. I think the 100K number, I think, is such a large psychological number for
Those are all
one.
traders.
And for two, listen, I want to see it go to 10 freaking million. Let's freaking go. I'm strapped in and I want to be wrong on this. I just think that we're going to creep up towards that 100. And these sales pitches are going to be absolutely blasting off left and right. And I think the big money is going to know, hey, remember that 100K number that we definitely going to hit? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I think that they're going to we're going to fail to take profits. That's what I think is going to happen.
So I'll adjust mine just because you guys both picked 90K. I was going to give myself a range too. I was going to say between 90K and 2 million. No, I'm kidding. I was going to say realistically between 90 and like 120 was going to be my real estimation. Okay. But I'll just move it up a little bit. I do think that, I think Keeper, what you just said makes a ton of sense. Because, when you think about the market, I always just think this, the market wants to wreck as many people as possible at all times, right? So I just try to think like, how are they going to wreck the most retail, right?
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense what you just said. But I'll just kind of pivot up a little bit. I'll say, let's assume we crack that 100. I think between 100 and 130K would be very, very somewhat of a conservative number. The one thing that I think a lot of people don't take into account is the diminished returns. But like Miguel just said, a spot ETF can come. I mean, again, I wish I still had that picture of the gold spot ETF chart. I mean, if we get that spot ETF, like we could see the regulatory bull run of all bull runs for crypto, in my personal opinion.
Super cycle, baby.
Yeah, anything short of a spot ETF, I think between 100 and 130K would be realistic. Spot ETF. I mean, you look at go Google.
Well, you think it's going to happen,
ETF.
right? There's no way that they're going to let BlackRock apply for that, and they don't know already that it's going to get approved. I just can't see that not happening.
I would agree.
Crusader, don't give me some freaking head in the clouds Bitcoin freaking number here. Give me a real number.
Real
I'm strapped
number.
in. I'm strapped in.
Number. I think we crack easy 150, and the 200K is gonna be the one that wrecks everybody, right? That's what I think is gonna become the 100K of the last cycle. It's like, oh, this is it. We're
so you think we can more than 2x the last all-time high?
Yes. I think we can crack 150, and then once we do that, spot ETF, all these things, right? If we are going to see it, if we're not going to see the super cycle and just blast off right into the oblivion of $1 million Bitcoin or whatever, I think the 200 price point is going to going to be the equivalent of the 100K. Everybody's going to see 150 and be like, this is it. We're about to blast off. It's going to happen. And that 150, maybe close to 170, 180, and then right straight down from there.
So last question, gents. So knowing that we all kind of believe that there's definitely going to be manipulation at play, at hand, right? Crusader and I are holding each other accountable and putting together a game plan in the background to hold each other accountable to actually taking profits this run. Frankie, I know you and Evan obviously are trading, but I also know that you do some long-term investment, both of you as well. Do you have a profit-taking game plan, or are you kind of waiting a little bit longer, or kind of what's that look like?
Yeah, so I it's definitely really, really important. I actually like that you guys involve other people to hold you accountable, right? Because it's so easy. It is so easy, and I've done this with certain coins that I've invested in. Yeah, and it's like, you get to the price target, and you're like, okay,
but it's gonna go farther.
Yeah, but what if
they told me it was gonna go farther?
Greed is, in my opinion, or at least in my personal experience, I've struggled the most with my emotions in investing and trading. Greed has been the hardest one for me to kick, both in short-term trading and my long-term investing. So yeah, I think getting someone to hold you accountable is a great idea. I haven't done that, but I will, just that you said that now, I'm going to start doing that and implementing that, because I think that's something that'll really help me. Have someone over your shoulder be like, you didn't sell it, dude. You're just
remember what you said.
Yeah, you're just looking at it. Click the button. But I do think having those preset goals. What is your goal with crypto? Because I think a lot of people come in with no clear goal. They just say, I'm in here to become a multimillionaire overnight, and they just wait for that to happen. And I think it's a lot. It happens, right? Crypto prints millionaires all the time, but I think it happens a lot less often than people realize. Like, I don't personally know somebody who just randomly bought a coin, and I'm around a lot of people in crypto, and I've never personally met somebody who's like, oh yeah, I put even $1,000 in this coin and I made $1 million. Like it's not as common as people realize. So pick those numbers, have your profit targets, have a goal. have a realistic goal, have those numbers, and I would just set limit orders. Honestly, if you set those limit orders to sell, there's nothing you could do about it.
It's just going to happen. Execute. Yeah, I like that idea too. Evan, what's your
yeah? I have like an exact game plan on exactly where to start DCAing out. It's actually what's funny that you brought this up. Like I actually came out with a new mini course that like with a whole plan on how kind of risky you want to be or how conservative you want to be. And there's also like, if you just look at the 4-year cycle, like I'll kind of sum it up a little bit. I mean, if you look at the 4-year cycle, essentially the place you'd want to be taking profits is around like middle of kind of 2025, April, kind of the most conservative place, like April, May of kind of like 2025, the sell in May, walk away type thing, just get all the way out. But a safer way to do it would be to DCA out probably for the last 6 months of 2025, like DCA out the last 6 months of 2025, or kind of to be the really like sweet spot to get some big gains without too much risk. The last like 3 months of 2025 DCA out during that area. Then most likely if history repeats, like you would be DCAing out on average of, I mean, depends what your profile is composed of, but with a lot of good altcoins, maybe a 10x or more,
Yeah. This is a good chat right here. It says issue with limit orders is having your bits sitting on centralized exchanges. I think that's a really good point. It's definitely, especially when we're talking about larger numbers, I'm definitely really careful about that. I agree with you, Frankie, though. It makes it execute and then boom. But do you trust the exchange or whatever? Crusader, you were going to say something?
Oh, yeah. I think I have a great idea for the next bear market. It's going to be crypto anonymous. Everyone's just going to come in and just say, yeah, my name is yada yada. I didn't sell. I held. And we're just going to have group therapy.
We're going to sit around and drink coffee and just do
about how we're going to be multimillionaires and we're all just still sitting here holding onto our bags.
But I mean, after the next like bull run, that could be the one where Bitcoin, like the volatility just gets lower. If you're just in Bitcoin at the end of the next bull run, that could be finally the one where like there's not as much of a need to sell. Altcoins, yes, you'll probably see the same thing, but Bitcoin to 90K, I mean, it might not go below 50 or 60K after that next bull run ever. So
really,
that's not a bad point.
So you think if we, with a conservative estimate of 90K being the max, you think we won't drop below 50? Those 80% drops will like diminish?
I think to go on what you were saying about the ETFs and stuff, I think that'll just limit volatility and will become more and more like gold over time. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think there's a good shot that the percent drop would only be like 50% in the next bear market.
I will say something about the ETF. Here's the thing. It's like, I always think of the market as like, how can they wreck the most people, right? Everybody is expecting this spot ETF, right? And then, it's almost like it's like every event, right? Everybody waits for this thing, right? It's like the ETH merge. Like everyone waits for this thing to cause this massive move. And granted, a spot ETF would be like a really big deal, Yeah. But, I always, it's the same thing with XRP. It's like, do you think that the powers that be are really just going to allow all these people to become multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires overnight? I think there could be, that spot ETF approved, it's going to go to $1 million instantly. Although that does make sense on paper, for the powers to be, again, like to figure out a way to just avoid that from happening. Everyone's expecting this thing. It almost seems too easy of a signal. But I'm not an expert on ETFs, so
I'll refute that in the aspect of, unlike XRP, I think very few people have one full Bitcoin in the chat right now, or in YouTube land, like holding people that watch. I think a lot of people have a ton of XRP and then have been accumulating XRP at 40-30 cents for years.
That's
versus
a good point.
Bitcoin is priced, most people are priced out. Maybe they hold a fraction of a Bitcoin, right? 0.1, 0.2 Bitcoin or whatever it is. Maybe they have half a Bitcoin. But having a 200 Bitcoins, 100 Bitcoin, 50 Bitcoins, right, that could make you a multi-millionaire, I think it's a very small selected group, right, of people that have that. So the people that do have it and will become super wealthy, right? Micro strategy.
They were forward thinking anyway.
They're already part of the dinner parties, right?
Makes
They're
sense.
like, send it, baby. So that's the only thing I would refute on that aspect.
I think it all makes a lot of sense. We ultimately, this is Debate Crypto for a reason, right? We like to have these discussions. Thank you guys all for being here. Evan, Frankie, thank you for being here as always. You guys are the best. Crypto fam, make sure that you're following Evan and Frankie. Turn on bell notifications. Obviously,
remind people to hit
ahead,
the subscribe, because I think people are hitting the unsubscribe instead. And
we've been seeing a big uptick in
gaming.
unsubscribe. So either we suck at life or people are pushing the wrong button. I don't know which it is. I hope it's not sucking at life. So pick the right button. Pick the subscribe button. You're right. Crypto fam, we love you guys. You could have hung out anywhere on a Thursday, but you're hanging out with us. TA Thursday around the charts. Just remember to question everything.
Trust nothing.
And until next time,
Knock
hodl.
it out.
We'll see you soon.